Hello. Your drag queen Sophia Shanti Om here with you guys. And today we are going to talk about the four uh, talk about the four laws of logic. Before that, I will perform for you, and before performing, I invite you guys to challenge yourselves and try to answer the following questions based on my series Philosophy and Drag. Now, this is our seventh live. The previous 5 lives were dedicated to the topic of philosophy. We have covered all the 5 branches of philosophy. So I want to help people learn more and memorize things, and not to be just consumers getting info, but also become producers and change makers. So this is why I encourage my followers to give me some answers, to write, to type, and then later, so that you can start teaching those concepts to people around you. And teaching is also a form of learning, by the way. When you can teach successfully, it means you understand. When you cannot teach successfully, it means you didn't understand the subject yourself. And the success metric should be how easy you teach, and most importantly, did the person understand? If they can repeat what you said, then you're successful. So give me the names of the 5 branches of philosophy, guys. If you want to give me also the Greek equivalents, fine. If not, just the English words. Okay, that's question number 1. Just leave a comment with the names of the 5 branches of philosophy. 1. Question number 2. What does philosophy mean? Give me a definition of that as well. Okay. And yesterday we covered another very interesting topic that was about dogma versus axiom. So I invite you guys, those who were here yesterday, if you were, tell me what is a dogma, what is an axiom, and what's the difference between those two. Okay. As a reminder, this is a very important. Thank you for the follow, Cody. Thanks a lot. This is a very important thing. This is like when you are installing an operation system on your device, like your laptop. Is it Windows, Mac, Linux, something else? So with these basics, you are kind of doing the same. You're installing an operational system on your brain, okay? Now, before we dive into the topic of the 4 laws of logic, we will go through the routine performance by me. I'll perform for you a little, one part of a song, okay? And after that, we'll go directly into the laws of logic. All right. This might be a little hard, so I usually invite my followers to guess the song and write down the name of the artist and the song. I'm not sure if a lot of people will be able to do that with this song because it's kind of old, but let's try. Let's try. All right. Abrázame y no me digas nada, solo abrázame. Me basta tu mirada para comprender que tú te irás. Abrázame como si fuera ahora la primera vez, como si me quisieras hoy igual que ayer, abrázame. Si tú te vas, te olvidarás que un día hace tiempo ya, cuando éramos aún Dios, me empezaste a amar y yo te di mi vida. Si te vas, si tú te vas, ya nada será nuestro, tú te llevarás en un solo momento, una eternidad. Me quedaré sin nada si te vas. Abrázame y no me digas nada, solo abrázame. No quiero que te vayas, pero sé muy bien que tú te irás. Abrázame como si fuera ahora la primera vez, como si me quisieras hoy igual que ayer. Abrázame. Na, 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 na. La, 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 la. All right, that's it. Very lyrical, very beautiful, very sad. Yeah, that's the song. And now the 4 laws of logic. Before that, I'd like to read for you the definition of the term wisdom because I think we didn't go through this. So wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Earlier, I spoke of good judgment, I think, and the quality of being wise. That's the definition of wisdom. So it has 3 core elements: experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Okay. When I work with my students, we go very deep, and I even have a video lesson on only the definition of wisdom. So it's very profound. But as this live is just an introductory thing to all these topics, we're just going through all of this in a very light manner. We won't dive deep into it as of now. Okay. However, you should know that those 3 should work together: experience, knowledge, and good judgment. When they are together, then that's wisdom. Separately, like you may have experience, but you may not have good judgment, and your experience won't help you in that case. Okay, that's the thing. Similarly, you can be very knowledgeable. You can have a few diplomas, higher education diplomas, but you may not have very good judgment and you may lack experience. See? So, yeah. Okay, now, 4 laws of logic. These laws are very, very important in terms of again, installing a very proper, logical, reasonable operational system into your brain. Yeah, this stuff is very useful for people who want to hone their thinking skills, who want to learn to think and analyze, critically and profoundly, and I could say scientifically, okay, from the perspective of classical logic. Now, the first law of logic is called law of identity. Now, the easiest way to put it is X is X. This may not make sense to some people, so I'll try to explain with some objects. A cup is a cup. In other words, anything that exists exists, and anything that exists has identity. Okay, I cannot say this is nothing. That would break the law of logic. Okay, I cannot take any object and say this is nothing, no thing, because first of all we have something, yeah, and then that something has a clear identity. Okay, now let me see what Google says. Um, okay, I think this is not too complicated how Google defines it. As well, I could read it for you. A statement is true if and only if it is true. Yeah? Essentially, if something is X, it is X. For example, if it is snowing is true, then it is true that it is snowing. Okay? This may seem maybe like some people could be like, duh, but if you only understood, KB, thanks for the likes. I appreciate every tap and every follow. If you think around this, you will understand that a lot of religious and political figures are telling you that this is false, this is not true. They may say that, well, corruption is not corruption, for instance, yeah, or well, lying is not lying. You see, they adore, like on religious, on political, on ideological grounds, a lot of folks adore destroying or going around this law of logic. They're not really destroying the law, they're just showing that they are manipulative. And I'm not only speaking of right-wing political and religious figures. Sometimes in the left wing we have this too. If you don't know these rules or laws, if you are not aware of how these things work, then you might be one of those people too. You might unwillingly and unintentionally disregard the first law of logic, which is the law of identity. But if you want to be honest with yourself, if you want your thinking, the quality of your thinking to be of high level, then you should understand the first law of logic, which is the law of identity. Sometimes, to be honest, I like to think of it as the law of identification as well, correct identification. Like if we take a specific language, English, if you name this object a cup in English, then you'd want to name it properly, yeah, as a cup. If you don't do that, of course, artistically, you can say, well, this is my opinion, I see this thing as a vase, etc. But from the perspective of reason and logic, when you say this is a smartphone, you are kind of disregarding the law of identity. And that can create chaos. And a lot of politicians and religious folks are doing that to present us with their own view of things. Like, no, this is not corruption. No, this was not an act of crime. This was an act of love, for instance. Yeah. So learning all of this is a very important thing to defend yourself against lies, falsifications, manipulations, etc. And yeah, I think for now this is enough as of the first law of logic. Let's move on to the second law of logic, which is the law of non-contradiction. Okay. I think I'll start from a simple thing. X cannot be non-X. Okay. Well, this is the classical way. A cup cannot be a non-cup or something else. Yeah. A cup cannot be a crayon. Yeah. So if this is a cup, then this is a cup. It cannot be something else at the same time in the same universe. Okay. And sometimes I'll bring another more complicated example. A smartphone. This is a very good example. With smartphones, you could argue, well, a smartphone is an alarm, it is a phone, it is a clock, it is a camera, etc., etc. However, if we go deeper, actually, when you open the camera of your smartphone, you cannot call people with the camera, right? When you call someone, you cannot take a photo with that calling window on your smartphone or iPhone, right? So actually, even with smartphones, this law of logic applies. It works. It functions properly. So smartphones are fantastic because we have lots of things inside one device. But still, a camera is a camera, and it cannot be a non-camera in the same universe at the same time. Okay. So yeah, I think I'll stop here. Well, let's see what Google says. Maybe it's easy. Yeah, a statement cannot be both true and false at the same time. Oh gosh, how religious and political figures and activists sometimes like to go around this. They're like, no, it can be both true and untrue at the same time. So, for example, it is snowing and it is not snowing cannot both be true during the same time period in the exact same location. Okay? If it snows now here, then you cannot say it doesn't snow now here. Yeah? So again, when we speak of this, this may seem very reasonable, logical, but in real life, people argue against this, a lot. When we go into dogmas, religious beliefs, some people can say, well, a 100% man cannot be a 100% God, but Jesus is, for instance. Yeah. So they are going against logic and reason, okay, with those religious things. And in politics, they love doing that too. Yeah. They can justify themselves, their actions, through some emotional stuff, and they can go like, well, cheating and lying is bad, but I did it for the country, so it was not cheating and lying. In all forms of nationalism, this thing works. They think it works. The manipulators. I am from the Republic of Armenia, and we have a historical figure, Garagin Najdeh, who is considered a national hero in Armenia. But I don't think of him as a national hero. He collaborated with the Yazis, with the Mustache Man's government. So for me, it's a crime. But what do Armenians say? Well, he did it for the country, so he's a patriot. So whatever he did it for the country, therefore it is okay. So this logic, again, this is not really logic. This is just your raw emotions. And the left also does this with, for instance, pro-Palestinian activists. They're like, oh no, when those poor Palestinians are bombed, again, I'm on TikTok. I need to be careful with my phrases. Are throwing things on Israeli soil when they unaliven Israelis. Well, those poor folks are forced to do so because of the politics of Israel, so they are innocent, blah, blah, blah. Again, that's just raw emotional justification of terror. Yeah. And it's not acceptable from the perspective of reason, logic, even human decency, I would argue, Yeah, so this is the second law of logic. I think still this is quite a lot. So maybe for this live, I'll stop here. I'll give you the first two laws of logic now, today, and then the other two will take on tomorrow, okay? So I'll repeat the names. The first one is called the law of identity, and the second one is the law of non-contradiction. As this is new, I just repeated the names for you. If you'd like to memorize it, if you'd like to learn it, to then teach others, to help them start to think and process information and the reality around them in more profound ways, then I invite you to do that. Okay, just leave comments and write the name of the first law of logic and the name of the second law of logic, and then in one or two sentences describe those laws of logic. Okay, and today, as always, we will finish with a quote. Let's take a quote from Aristotle. Now, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Okay. To be honest, for me, educating the heart sounds, at first it sounds ambiguous. But the way I would interpret it to make it work for me, as a person who, I don't want to say believes, as a person who knows, who concluded that reason is very important. And it's more important than just raw emotions. This is educating the heart is about teaching ourselves not only compassion, but also empathy and the ability to discern the essential from the theoretical. Sometimes, well, again, it makes me think of this Republican lady who recently said, well, we all are gonna get enlivened one day. Yeah, that's very cold, right? That's very, or Elon Musk, yeah, when he says that, did he attack compassion or empathy? I don't remember, but he said that it's the weakest point of the Western civilization, right? So, yeah, they sound horrible, they sound robotized, and if we just turn people into figures, and we dehumanize people, then yeah, education can be horrible. Like in Nazi Germany, they carried out those horrible experiments on Jewish children, right? Because Jews were like were subhuman for them, and it was horrible. So we need to be aware of that. I would interpret this quote to mean that, yeah, educating the heart, apart from educating the mind, means to remember that you're human and to remember that others are humans as well, and not to lose that important piece of knowledge, I'd say. And I'll go a little deeper here. The word organ, it's an ancient Greek term, organon. Organ means tool. So all organs, the lungs, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, the stomach, are tools. The brain is yet another organ, right? It's a very big, powerful, useful organ, but still it's an organ. So it's a tool. Our eyes, our ears, our intellect, the ability to reflect, the ability to talk, to think, to imagine, all of this, again, it's a toolkit. And why do we need those tools? That's the fundamental question. And for what we need to use those tools? I would argue that it's important to remember that, yes, these tools are meant for life. And we need to use all our tools, the entire toolkit, including our brain, our intellect, for the purpose of maintaining and improving life, making life around ourselves better to the best of our ability. This is my argument. Yeah, that's it for today. And subscribe if you like topics related to personal development, reason, well-being, thinking, paradigms, etc. And when you leave commentaries, you show the algorithms that you like this content. And by doing so, you increase your chances of seeing my future lives and videos. Okay? So that's it for now. High five, and see you guys tomorrow. We'll continue covering the topic of 4 laws of logic. Okay? 2 more laws to go. Bye.